Go.
2, 3. Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2025 Surveyor 27 Camp. We are just going to start off the back of the unit. You'll notice you are pre-wired and pre-mounted for a Furrion observation camera in the back there. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact your parts department. And the same does go for your Lippard collapsible stair system. It's essentially just a stair system that's collapsible that can connect onto the back of that mount there, so you can get up and periodically check all your seals and everything. Also located at the back, you do have your spare tire. And then located inside the bumper, pull this cap off. This is typically where you're going to want to store your sewer hose. We currently have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, but once you use it for the first time, you are just going to want to stick it in there. It just helps keep all the smell out of the unit. And then to the left of that, you do have your main 50 amp power cord inlet. Just take a note of that strip there. You do line up with this strip on this side. You're just locking those guys in. 8th turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 50 amp plug end. Now, some campsites may not have 50 amp service, or if you have the unit at home, you may want to go down to 30 or 15. We do include a 30 amp dog bone adapter in case you want to go down to 30 amps of power. But whenever you're doing so, just being mindful again, because this unit is equipped with 2 air conditioners, to run both at the same time, you do need a 50 amp supply. If you're going down to a 30, you are only going to be able to run 1 air conditioner at a time. And then if you wanted to go down to that 30 down to a 15 amp, which is a standard household plug, you could also do so, because we also include that. Just keeping in mind, 15 amps of power, you're not running any air conditioners, you're just really running your fridge and your lights. So just be mindful of that. And then all 4 corners of the unit do have stabilizer jacks. The way that works is you just got your 3/4 inch drive nut here. There's a tool located in the front compartment, which I'll show you once we get there. Hook that up to that, run that foot down to the ground. Once that foot contacts the ground, just giving it another 1/8 quarter turn to snug it up, and that's going to take any bounce or sway you see having the unit right now away. Now, in today's day and age, cordless impacts are definitely a thing. So just whenever you are using an impact of any sort to run this foot, keep it in mind how much torque you do put on them, because they are pretty easy to bend. So just be mindful of that. City water connection, so if you're at a site with service, you can just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines for you. Cable satellite inlet right here. You do have a little storage compartment. And then located right here, you got your main dump valve here. You're just taking note of those ears there. Those are going to be the same ears your sewer hose has, and they just line up with the notches and lock into place. And then you do have a gray valve and a black valve. You always want to empty that black valve first. It's going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically a little cleaner water from your sinks and your showers. Further up ahead, you are going to have your 2 low point drains. Those are just to drain all the water that's inside the lines. Helps for not letting water go stale or stagnant inside the lines. And it also helps if you're going to be servicing any sort of faucets or anything, just to make less of a mess. And then you got your main water tank drain, which is right here. Up from there, you got your freshwater inlet. So if you're filling your tank, just put a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to fill that tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. Right next to it, you got your service port for your hot water heater. You're gonna notice this little power switch. Turning that on does supply power to the thermostat inside, which I will go over once we get there. And because this is an on-demand system, it's not like your traditional water heater system. If you've had a trailer before, they used to always tell you that you have to bypass the water heater when you go to winterize. Because this is a tankless system, you do actually run antifreeze through here. Just, of course, making sure it's off before you do so. And then whenever you're done fully with your winterizing process, before you leave the unit, just cracking that pressure relief valve. It allows the antifreeze to escape out once it gels up, because in Manitoba it does get pretty cold over the winters. So once it gels up, it has a place to go because those copper tubes are so thin. Just some more storage in the front. And then around the front of the unit. Right up front, you have that battery disconnect switch, so that in the off position, the batteries are disconnected from the unit. You return it to the on position. The batteries become connected to the unit. Your battery is stored inside this house here. And then you got your 2 propane tanks right up front. They are standard barbecue style tanks, and most of the time you can get what you need done just by loosening off these tabs, pulling them out of the way, flipping this cover over. It gives you access to everything, but for the purpose of the video, I'll just pull this right off. Right up front, you got your regulator valve. Obviously, with the arrow pointed this way, you're going to be drawing off this tank. If this tank were to go empty, you do just have to close it, turn it over to the other side, and then you can draw off the other tank. To open it counterclockwise like a standard barbecue, just opening it up slowly all the way opens up the flow of propane to the unit. Tongue jack right up front, manual override right underneath that cap. And get into this front compartment. If you flip that open, inside here you got that manual drive tool for the stabilizer jacks, which I've already told you about. And then you got your starter pack located inside here. That is where you're going to find that 10-foot sewer hose and a 15-foot water hose. You also get some miscellaneous goodies, including that 15-amp park adapter, which I've already told you about. And then located right here, you got this, which comes with a garden sprayer end, and that does just hook up. Your little exterior shower section right here. To get inside that, you're just pulling that tab down, flipping this down. You got 2 notches on either side of this plug. Line them up with the notches on this end, twist and lock into place, and then you got hot and cold water right at this tap. That's it for that compartment. Coming up a little further, 2 standard 120 foot lightnings, and then you do have your furnace exhaust. So whenever your furnace is running, it's going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. You got your range hood flap. Whenever you first get to your campsite, unclipping that out of the place. That way, whenever you are using it, it's actually evacuating the fumes. And whenever you're traveling, just locking it back into place, just stopping excess dust from getting inside the unit. The exterior shower little section that I've already told you about. And then you have your black tank flush. So the way that guy works is it's important you have your black tank, your sewer connected, and your black tank valve open. Thread a garden hose in there, turn it on, and it's just going to flush that tank out, keeping things that little bit cleaner. Right here, you do have a secondary entrance. It is for the bathroom. Today we're going to be going into the main entrance. The stairs for both of you are the same. Taking that assist handle, pushing up, holding it 90 degrees, it'll lock into place. That'll allow you to open up your door. Opening up your door fully, you get the stairs down. Then you're just pulling that little latch. The stairs will start falling down. Now on either side of the stair, you do have adjustable feet, so you can adjust your stairs nice and level for your campsite needs. You're just having to push down on that tab, and it'll allow you to slide that channel. Then once you take a step on the side off to the right, it's going to be that fire extinguisher, just like home pole can shoot. And then once you're inside, on this wall here is where you get most of your controls. So you got an awning LED light, which is just underneath the awning. You got a porch light. Then of course your interior light switch, turning that on turns on most of the lights inside the living space. 2 different buttons here. You got the awning extend and the slide room extend. To get the awning out, you're just pushing and holding that extend button. The awning's gonna start making its way out. And once fully extended, back to level 2, you get the flap coming down. Unfortunately today, we're not gonna be able to get the awning all the way out, but that's all we're going to do today. As you can see, the awning is out. Now, if it were to start raining, you could take any arm from the rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to then run off. Now, if you like that angle better, because it allows more shade underneath, just making sure you push those arms back straight before you bring your awning in. That way you don't run anything. Whenever you do have that awning out, just keep it on higher wind speed. Once you get to about 5 kilometers an hour winds, you're going to want to make sure you bring that awning in. And bringing it in is just as simple as holding and pushing that retract button. Once the arms contact side to side, it's fully also located here is the slide room. So before you ever go to operate the slide, always being mindful of what's on either side of the slide, inside and out, because things do tend to shift during travel and can cause damage. Same thing goes for the outside of the slide. pushing and extending that out button. Slide out's going to go all the way out, and once fully extended, you're going to hear the clicking of the motors, and that's when you know you're out all the way. Now, unfortunately, today, again, just due to space, I'm not able to get the slide out all the way out. That'll be about all we'll be able to get out today. Right up top, you got your solar controller. Lots of different settings you could play with inside there. You can go through the manual for more information on that. Now you got your first thermostat. Now this thermostat does just control the furnace. To operate it, you're just pushing the button once. It's going to illuminate itself. You can push it a second time. It'll allow you to go over that heat option. You would push enter, and it would automatically kick in the furnace, and then you can adjust your room temperature just by turning this knob once you're in that heat setting. And there is only one fan speed for the furnace, and the furnace does move all its air through the floor ducting we have throughout the unit. Last but not least for this wall anyways, you got your rear air conditioner control. This is going to be the way you're going to want to control that air conditioner. It works pretty simple. You're pushing that button once. Pushing that button once, it's going to turn itself on. Now you can go up and down with the temp button to set your room temperature. You can change your fan just by pressing that button. And obviously the higher you have it up, the faster it's going to turn, and that's going to be full time whether the air conditioner is running or not. In case in which you leave it on auto, and in that case it'll control whether it'll kick the air conditioner in and out as needed depending on your room temperature. The turbo button is just a really high fan speed in case you're wanting to move lots of air around at a higher pace. And then of course you have a few different sleep options and such, which you can go through inside the service manual to get all set up, and then just the on button to turn it off. Because you have propane inside here, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If that guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents just to ventilate it out a little bit. Stepping into the bedroom, light switch is just on the wall on this side. First thing you're going to notice this door, it is travel latch shut. And that is for a reason, just because whenever you're traveling, this is going to be sliding freely and could cause damage. To get that to come off, you just have to undo the button and allow you to operate the door. But of course, always try to remember to latch that back up before you start traveling again. That way you don't cause any excess damage. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them. And then on this side here, you do have the fire exit. Pretty simple. You pull this red tab, it's going to pop right out of place. And then you can take your handle, push up, and hop on out of the unit. Either side of the bed, you do got plug-ins on both sides. You also have little reading lights above your head on their own center push buttons, which you can control through that. And then on the wall here, you do got your thermostat for your rear air conditioner. Whenever you're running your rear air conditioner, you got a couple different options. You can run it with these louvers open, in which case it'll dump all its air into this bedroom area, or you can close the louvers and it will push the air through the ceiling ducting you have throughout the unit. To get that on, you come to your thermostat here, push and hold the power button. It is going to turn itself on. It's going to bring you to your last known setting. So in this case, it's fan. Adjust the fan speed just by pressing up or pushing the fan button. You can go from low and high. Now this is just moving air around with the air conditioner. There's no heating or cooling involved. One more time, you go into dry. Now that's more of a dehumidifying mode, so it's going to try and take as much moisture out of the air as possible just by running the air conditioner on and off. And now you get to your cool option. So this is when the cooling effect does take into place. Whenever you're in the cool option, I typically like to leave my, that was adjusting the temperature. I like to leave my fan setting on auto, so it becomes an on-demand system. It'll kick in and out as needed, depending on what you have what the room's at and what you have the thermostat set to. But you can run that on high or low specifically, and it'll run full time regardless of the room temperature. Then just push and hold the power button to turn it off. You also got a TV backer right here. So if you want to mount a TV in the bedroom, you can do so. And then you got a couple plugins as well as a coax for that. Taking a step, you got your little storage closet. Kind of mentioned just down right below, you are prepped for a washer dryer combo. So if you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact the parts department and they can put together a quote for you. Now into the main living space. Got your slide out area. Again, accent lighting inside here on their own center push buttons. Blinds are going to look the same way as in the bedroom. Take your couch, pull it, and it does make yourself another bed in case you have guests. And then to get that back in, you are just pushing folding at the top to assist it back down. And then you do got your dinette system, which is currently set up for an eating space, but this also does turn into a bed. Just having to remove these bottom legs out of the table, set the tabletop on these black ledges, and then you can take your back cushion to fill in the center. And again, you have another space for guests. On the wall here in the entertainment center, another TV backer in case you want to mount a TV here. Then you're going to notice this is your main coax outlet. You're going to see this little black button. This green light's on. That's just telling you that the antenna is on the roof. It also improves radio frequency, so I do recommend just leaving it on, but you can turn it off if you'd like. Storage all around. Now getting into the kitchen space. You got your fridge and freezer. Control for the freezer is inside the freezer. Obviously, the coldest setting is all the way to counterclockwise, and the colder/warmer section is clockwise. Coldest is counterclockwise. Closing that, coming down, you'll see in the fridge, you got your controls here. This little frozen, or this little snowflake changes your temperature setting inside your fridge. So 5 is going to be the coldest, fastest option for this fridge. You're going to notice 2 being an off-grid section. That's just telling you the most energy efficient setting to have it on when you're on battery power. If you are on battery power, this little battery thing is going to come on. Turn the fridge on. You're just pushing and holding the power button, and that'll turn it off and on. We're currently off, so if you push and hold it again, it'll turn it on. Just as simple as that. Right below your fridge, you got your main fuse and breaker panel. All your breakers, whenever they trip, they'll sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset them. You'll have all your fuses on your right. Whenever there's one that's dead, there will be a little red indicator light letting you know which one is dead. Taking a step now into the kitchen, flipping this cover back, being careful because it is glass. Get the stove to light. You're just pushing and turning it over to the high option and then hitting that sparker, and it does fire right on up. So I am just going to mention, always being careful when you're lighting this to not put too much gas into the space before you hit the igniter. But whenever you've had the propane system off for a while, it can take a few seconds to get all the air purged out of the lines, so just be mindful of that. It also helps that if you do have had the propane system off for a long time, before you go to fire anything propane, just to get your stove going, that's going to help purge most of the air out of the lines. Got a little button on the right that turns on some accent lighting. Then you got your microwave right up top, pretty much just like home. Not much I'm going to show you there. And then of course you got your range hood. I recommend running this range hood whenever you are cooking on the oven, using the stove, because it helps evacuate those propane fumes, which I explained to you already with that. LP detector, storage all underneath, sink with hot and cold water, storage up top. Come into your bunk section. Top bunk, bottom bunk both have lights and switch and USB plugins. When it comes to this bottom bunk, you can have it up like we have it now for some storage space, or you can just flip it down and it turns itself into another double bunk. The double bunk has the same fire exit the bedroom had as well. And then opening up this door will bring you into the bathroom. The light switch is on your right. Once you're inside the bathroom, most of what you have to worry about is just right here. You got your main GFI plug. So if you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I would look. Just making sure that that system isn't tripped, hitting that reset button. And then you have a couple different options. So you got your monitor panel system, which is as it reads. You got your tank levels. So as you press the button, it's going to tell you what the tank's at. Same thing with the battery level, which goes low, fair, good, and charging. Then you got your water pump switch, turning that on, does draw out of the fresh tank. And of course you got your water heater option, turning that on, supplies power to this. Press this power button to turn it on. Now it is just going through a fire up procedure because we've had it off for so long, but typically once you turned it on, it would tell you what your output temperature currently is, and then it's going to tell you what your set temperature is at. So that's all going to depend on your personal preference. You change it between Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button, then power button again just to turn it off. And then you could kill the power to it completely just with that button. Other than that, it's your pretty simple bathroom. You got your toilet, shower with hot and cold water. This stair system does fold down once you were to be at your campsite. And then up top, you're going to notice you got your little Furrion vent system. So clockwise to open that guy up, but you're having to pull down on the knob first just to unlock it. And once we flip that open all the way up, being mindful that whenever you do travel, this has to be down unless you can cause damage to the ventilator. And if it were to start raining and it was open, it would get wet in here. We do sell Max Air covers to help with both those problems. It's essentially just a cover that goes over top of this vent and would allow you to run that whether it's raining, and to leave it open when you're traveling. If you'd like to get set up with that, again, you can contact your parts department and they can put together a quote for you. And then to close it, it's just the opposite. And then of course, to control the fan, you got your different buttons here. So you're going to start on the slowest setting, and 3 more times after that will get you on the highest setting. Off button to kill it, and then just making sure you close it and lock it in place. That's going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.